Eswatini has been rocked by deadly protest or pro-democracy protests. The government says about 27 people have died, but civil society organizations put the number above 40. The army has now been deployed and the soldiers are accused of intimidation and using violent force against citizens. A SADC delegation is expected to convene in the kingdom for a second time this weekend after the first meeting yielded little result. Let's speak now to human rights lawyer based in Eswatini, Thulani Maseko. Mr. Masego, thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. Now, of course, we know about the violence that has actually rippled in the kingdom of Eswatini. We've heard from people describing how they can't even get food because those food stores have also been burnt down. What's the situation there now, especially with human rights?
Morning. The situation is looking quite bad. As you say, the army is still on the streets, killing, torturing, and maiming and injuring our people. The situation looks a bit calm, but as people say, there's often a calm before the storm. The human rights situation is obviously horrible. We've got many people who are sitting either in the police cells or in the prisons, many of whom have not been charged, many of whom have been denied even bail by the courts.
I know that you have written to the government in the Kingdom of Eswatini, and in there you talk about, for instance, as you said, the army being deployed to set up roadblocks, etc., being against human rights. Have you received any response from the Swaziland government? You wrote this on the 9th of July, which was yesterday, so maybe I'm not giving them enough time to respond to you.
Not at all. Actually, we wrote to the government on Monday morning, when we also wrote to the SADC mission team that is here, asking them what the process is going to continue and when, and what are the rules of engagement. We haven't heard from the Southern government, but we did receive a communication from the SADC organ, even though they didn't quite commit in terms of when they are coming back, in terms of the time of engagement and the date. We hear that a team is here, but nobody's communicated to us formally in that regard. So we're waiting to hear how things are going to unfold from the SADC organ Troika.
When the Troika ministerial team from the SADC region arrived there, obviously talks became deadlocked. And you say in your letter that you view this as the Kingdom of Eswatini government's position as an attempt to delay, frustrate and undermine the engagement of that ministerial team. Explain to us why you say this.
Look, for many years now, the people of this country have been calling for transformation of the country from the so-called no-party Tingunla regime into a full democratic dispensation. This has been happening since the king, the late king, unbanned political parties on April 12, 1973. The call has been very clear. Let there be time for the king and government to sit down with those who are calling for change to negotiate the future of Swaziland. This is what we saw the organ Troika to be coming here to attempt and achieve. But obviously, we're dealing with the government that is so, intransigent. They're not willing to engage. They're putting every stop, putting roadblocks and potholes to ensure that the organ fails in the attempt to engage with the Swaziland to usher the country into a new dispensation.
What are you hoping that the Troika ministerial team from the SADC region would be able to achieve, at least once you find out that they really are there today? I know you say in your letter that you're hoping that government, comes in with the intent to have meaningful talks. But meaningful talks, what would that mean?
We are hoping, as the call has been made, that His Majesty, through the government, if not himself, shall make a clear commitment that the organ coming here is intended to ensure that the talks are genuine, there is commitment, the process is clear. We hope that the organ can persuade the government to make that commitment. We believe that a process of engagement must be based on a clear declaration of commitment by the king and government to ensure that all impediments, and roadblocks that prevent an honest engagement are removed. So we hope that we shall express to the team that at least the 5-point plan that the pro-democracy group has agreed upon will inform the process going forward.
We've heard from the minister and his daughter, Uskhanyiso, as well as others from the government, actually saying that there is peace in the kingdom of Eswatini. But according to you, what's happening there right now? Is the situation still as volatile as about 2 weeks ago?
Well, unless they say peace is relative. Just as of yesterday, when the EFF, the Swaziland party, in collaboration with a southern counterpart, engaged in a march at the Oshu border, there were people who were shot and injured by the army. I don't know whether people can say that is peaceful. Right now, at Matapa, actually even yesterday, there was a proposed march by the pro-democracy political parties to move to one of the police stations to demand that people be released or be given bail at the courts. That march was crushed by armed for police together with the army. So I don't understand when they say this. There's no peace in this country. People are being forced, by the use of guns and barrels to remain silent, not to express themselves on how they want to be governed by this regime.
Masego, I want to ask you just one more time. I don't know if this question has been put to you before, but where is King Mswati III? Has he addressed the nation?
Since the riot started, the king has been loudly silent. We understand that he's in the country. He's in one of his residences called the Hlane, down the Lubombo region, and people can't access to him. As we understand, the only people whom he's willing to meet and talk to are members of the security organs of state, indeed, together with those of his sons who are in the army. So we understand fully well that the king is in the country, is unwilling to engage, unwilling to talk, unwilling to commit to a process going forward.